Hi Alexandra, thank you for joining me today. We're here at the Childcare and Education Expo in London. For those people who don't know who you are and how you support the sector, do you mind sharing a little bit of information about what it is you do to help early years professionals?
Yep, so I'm a qualified teacher. I've been working in early years for a very long time. And I set Marmalade Early Years Consultancy up about 4 years ago. So I do consultancy coaching, training, and I work with childminders, preschools, schools, nurseries, and work with practitioners really, empowering them. My training is all based on my real lived experience, so case studies from my work, and I share that. And my aim is to bridge that gap between theory and practice and be able to translate that into an easy way for practitioners to understand and then equip them with the skills that they can go and use straight away the very next day, the things that are really easy to implement. So I'd say I'm very connection focused. I love talking to people about understanding children's behaviour, creating those inclusive environments, and then how everything else comes on top of that through play.
And I think connection, such a great place to start. I know that today you had a seminar all about connection, and I think that's such a great place for us to start. I'd love you to share with us the importance of that connection, not just how important it is to build the connection, but how can providers navigate the process of building a meaningful connection with children in our settings?
So connection is the most important thing that we can do in early years. If you don't feel connected, and by connected I mean feel safe, feel like you're stepping into your world, not the adult's world, you feel like you belong, you feel listened to. If you don't have that as an early years child, how can you do any of the academic side of things? And there's such a focus on school readiness and academics, and practitioners often lose sight of those really important things. So it's foundation stage, that's what we call it, isn't it? And I think, the connection is the thing that we do to make children feel all of those things. And when you feel good, that's when you can learn, isn't it? So it's about sharing those things with practitioners, things that you can do. So today in my seminar, I was talking about having a space for me, a way to belong. How do we do that? Do you mirror what children do? Mirroring's a great way to connect with children. Do you have their voices, their work represented within your setting? So things like having family boards, or, I talk a lot about putting them into little jam jar lids so children can go through in a basket and have a look at. Playing with children and attuning to children. Talking to, Johnny, who's loud and boisterous, and being able to connect with him in a completely different way to Sophie, who is quieter and more reserved. It's not one size fits all, and that's a really important thing. Yeah.
I think when we had the chance to sit down and talk, once we decided we were going to do this, and we talked about sort of that importance of connection and feeling almost connected to the environment, connected to the people that are there, and we started talking about my school experience, and I was like, do you know what, that makes so much sense. I remember some classroom environments that I really enjoyed and subjects that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I felt like the teacher was making an effort to really connect with me and make sure that I felt like I was welcome there and that the environment was safe for me. And it's like another thing, like I've had a chance to see and to talk to you about the iceberg. It would just be great. I'd love you to share what that iceberg means in principle and how it can really help impact that creation of that environment.
So the iceberg is a really good visual that lots of people use in training. And if you think about it in terms of understanding children's behaviours, we often look at behaviours and look at correcting behaviours, and we put all the onus on a child. But actually, if you look at the behaviours of being that bit of the iceberg that we can see, that's out of the water, that's all the things that we see children doing: biting, hitting, pushing, throwing things, all of those things. And then we can look at, why is that happening? And that's the bottom of the iceberg, isn't it? Is it because they're feeling anxious, they don't feel safe? There's something traumatic that's gone on and it's a trauma-related response? Is it that they've just not moved enough? I call that being a fizzy child. And, it's like that bottle of pop before it, when you shake it up before it explodes. And so when you're working with children who are a bit fizzy and they're demonstrating those behaviours and you're trying to correct it, calm down, stop doing that. Actually, what's going on and why has it happened? And when you understand what's going on at the bottom of the iceberg, that's when then you can say, I need to meet them where they are at, I need to make what I do and my environment meet them so that it's more inclusive, it's more supportive, so that then you don't get all the bottom bits and then the fizzing at the top. So if you've got a child who isn't moving enough, what can we do to do that? If we've got a child with undeveloped proprioception, and if you've got undeveloped proprioceptive system that can make you feel anxious, if you, all of those things, if you understand that, you can put so many little things into place in your provision, easy things that will stop those things from happening. We need to take that onus back, that responsibility back to us as the adults to say, hang on a minute, something's not working here. What can I do to change this? Rather than putting it on our little children.
Yeah, and it's that bit, it's about meeting them rather than getting them to come and conform to this single idea of what that space should look like, what that day should look like, what that conversation has to be like. Because there is so much difference, and I think the more that we can do as a society to embrace difference, the better we are for it, right?
Absolutely. And just having fun and play. Like, we get so bogged down in, school readiness. What does school readiness look like? It's learning your name. No, it's not. It's about feeling confident enough to be able to walk around and negotiate your early years space, to feel like you belong enough there, to have some little jobs that you get to do there, have that, you're able to be responsible and help with the lunches and help doing the sweeping up afterwards, and you feel like you're part of that, you're connected to it, you belong. And when you feel like that, even as an adult, when you feel like that, you're more likely to try something out that you didn't dare do before, or talk to somebody that perhaps you wouldn't have normally spoken to. So the more we can do to empower children to feel like that, the more they're going to thrive and therefore learn. And all the learning comes after that, doesn't it? So
they might not even realise that they're learning. They might be enjoying it so much,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. And just going back to having fun, slowing it down, having that fun.
When we spoke, there was a phrase that you said, and it resonated with me, and it stuck me. And I'd like to just share that phrase, which was, children cannot be what they cannot see.
Yeah. And
what that means in principle, because we would like to say, when we had our conversation, we caught up, it ended up turning into almost like a little mini therapy session. I was talking to you about my childhood, when I was at school, the lessons I loved, the teachers that were great for me, and that children cannot be what they cannot see. It really resonated with me. So what does that mean for people in principle?
It's so true, isn't it? You're a product of your environment. So children learn from us. They're just sponges. They soak everything up. So if they are around adults who overreact when something goes wrong, shout at the drop of a hat, shout to each other, all of those things that happen, children absorb all that and they will copy that. If they are with adults who show love towards each other, give each other time, then they are going to copy that, aren't they? If, you spill a drink and the adult's reaction is, oh my goodness, why have you done that? I told you not to put that there. Then that's how they learn to react if something goes wrong. Whereas if we're able to say, oh, crikey, that was a bit of a mistake, wasn't it? What can we do about it? It's done now. It's that old no use crying over spilt milk analogy. And children need to see us as positive role models. And then they need to learn about what emotions feel like, how do we deal with emotions, that it's okay to feel like that. For years and years, I remember adults saying to me, don't get upset about it. Actually, yeah, get upset. That's an absolute valid feeling. Sit with that feeling. But then what can we do about it, when we feel like that? So giving children those opportunities, when we play and when we do, so I talk a lot about sensory play in my training. When we give children access to sensory play, there's so many benefits to sensory play. If you think, it helps you to be mindful, to be in the present. It helps you to have an outlet when you feel stressed. I love clay. I do clay workshops with my children. I've always used clay in my teaching because it's a natural, lovely therapeutic thing. It calms me. It makes me feel good. And we need to teach children that you can go to those things when you feel stressed, because they then grow up to be adults who have those healthy habits, don't they? If you're feeling a bit fizzy, let's go outside, let's throw things, let's have those big body movements. Those things are really important. And then also that when you're upset, when you're cross, that adults show you how to deal with that. That's that whole co-regulation that develops into self-regulation as we grow older.
I mean, for me, it was music. That was the one that it wasn't so much a safe space, but it was a way of expression, but it was also relaxing. It was cathartic. It was just to, whenever I was a little bit stressed out at school, going into one of the practice rooms and just smacking a drum kit really hard for 10 minutes. You come out and you feel, oh, I feel better now, So, and I had such a great music teacher who was kind of like, yeah, that's what the practice rooms are for. They're soundproof. Make as much of a horrible sound as you want. I can't hear it anyway, but go and have fun. And I think what that enables you to do is exactly that. What's the correct way of expressing how I'm feeling?
Everyone has different ways of doing that, don't they? So like my 9-year-old has a drum kit, loves his drum kit, finds music is a really good therapy. But so, his school are just getting a therapy dog. Animals are great, aren't they, for de-stressing? And then other people, I like to go outside. When I'm feeling a bit stressed, before my seminar today, I met with my friend Dan, who came to this session with me. And I was like, can we just walk to the venue? I just want to be in the fresh air, that wide open space. And if you teach children that early on, you're giving them those skills that's what you can go to. They are healthy things that will help you, to manage stress levels, overwhelm, all of those things. So we're teaching them habits that they're going to have for life, and we're shaping that brain architecture. Like, that's amazing, isn't it? It's vital.
100%. I mean, you've mentioned about how animals can be helpful. We're actually joined by a special guest, aren't we?
We are joined by a special guest. This is Harry the hamster. I love him. I'm borrowing him from TTS Resources. He's a little hamster that's weighted and he vibrates. He feels like he purrs. And honestly, I'm buying him for my little boy, but I've just got him on my knee and he's lovely and calming. So yeah, using things like this, I talk about a lot about different resources that you can use in your setting that helps you to create that environment. Yeah, definitely. So cute.
Yeah, he is. And I have had the opportunity to give Harry a hug. He is incredibly soft and incredibly cuddly.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking the time to sit with me today, Alexandra. I've really enjoyed our conversation, as I did when we spoke for the first time and went into all sorts of parts of topics. And I could sit here and talk with you for hours, but I know that you've got a busy afternoon. But I do have one more question before you go. Why do you think events like Childcare and Education Expo are important for the sector?
Because it's a chance to meet up with so many other people who have the same passions and interests as you. I love the fact, like with Harry, I've never seen Harry before, and I'm on TTS quite a lot, and because I was able to pick him up and touch him and then speak to an expert about him, that's what I love about being able to come. You can touch things, see how they would work in your setting, and then you can come to all these little bite sizes of CPD, so you're just picking up all these lovely little things that you can go back with. The energy's brilliant. It's always a really good vibe, isn't it? And where else can you talk about schemers and all these things that people would look at you and wonder what you were talking about? So it's just, I've had some amazing conversations with people in the UK and actually people from overseas who've travelled over to come to this event. So, and they've all said, it's just because they're able to connect. So again, connection.
It's a great way to spend a couple of days, right?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. I look forward to it. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Alex. I hope you have a great afternoon. And thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you.